How much time do you have to put in to be an Eagle Scout?
I don't know if it can be measured in hours, and it
Okay.
also depends on when you start, because Cub Scouts, it comes before Boy Scouts. You can get in at any rank in Cub Scouts, and then uh, just requires a systematic approach to progressing through the ranks, and you can do it faster, but it took me quite a while.
Yeah.
Yeah, and
Did you have to do like resume after you got out of the hospital?
yeah, yeah, it
Okay.
was a year break there, just of nothing. But that was our troop was extremely helpful in like mowing the lawn at the house when we were out and stuff like that. So having a
Right.
scout troop of support was awesome. And even one of the scout dads was a pharmacist, and he helped us out a lot.
Oh
And
wow. Okay.
yeah,
That's my wife. My wife is a pharmacist.
cool.
Yeah. It's she's so smart. How much of your dad do you think was like influencing you to be the move on to the Boy Scouts, Cub Scouts, Eagle Scouts?
He was definitely the motivating factor. I came to him with a flyer with Garfield on it because I liked Garfield, and then that ended up getting me into Cub Scouts. And basically, really wasn't a fan of going to the meetings, and so he pushed me to see it through, and it was absolutely a gratifying experience. I'm glad he did it. So
And your dad is getting the leadership award at Parks and Wildlife. Um, what do you think of that? And what do you think of your dad as a leader?
I think that he is an exemplary example to follow. I think he's really got a lot of positives for going for him, and he really knows how to lead people the right direction, and he does it well.
Now, why do you think that is?
I think it's both because he's got a lot of practical knowledge and he's got a really good disposition to deal with people, so he can deal with the people themselves and lead them in the right direction with both of those things.
And what do you think? Because one of the things that I started asking myself is what does leadership mean? And I think it's a different definition to everybody you ask.
Sure.
And for you, what do you think leadership means, and why is it even important?
I think that there's just so many different types of leadership, and there's a lot of qualities that go into each one, and it doesn't take a necessarily take a formula to make a good leader. It more or less has it's a perfect storm of events that cause a leader to become a leader, and that definitely is clear in my dad. He has a ton of attributes that work together in ways you wouldn't expect in order to make him such a good leader.
Um, what do you think, if anything, that you've been able to get from your dad? Your dad's influence, and how do you think that affects your mentality in day to day now?
I think that from a very early age, he's given me an incredible quantity of character. I think that's really uh, something I greatly appreciate now. I could say with ease that I certainly wouldn't be anywhere like the person I am now without him, and I think that I'm content with who I am, and so I appreciate what he's done in order to develop me as a person. He's given me a lot of fundamental values that I hold true, and one of those being the outdoors and my passion for it.
And you guys were just down here, caught a bass.
Yeah.
I mean, what does it mean to you to be out here with your old man fishing? Why is that special?
It's just always been that way. It's nostalgic, but it's also just a great way to keep active and engaged, and it's a beautiful place, and it's relaxing. Got a lot of stress with school, and so it's great to come out here and unwind. And, he always catches the first fish is the funny thing. He caught one right before filming started. I thought that was hilarious because then I caught one while filming was going on, so it looks like I was the only one to catch a fish.
How perfect is it that, well, okay, so your dad works at Parks and Wildlife and has for a long time, and he's loved there. Um, knowing him, why is it the perfect place for him to work, and why?
I think that everybody there is passionate about the outdoors just because of their presence there. And so, because he is so passionate about it and because he is able to relate to everybody on a personal level, uh, both in work and outside of work, he's just a perfect fit for the place. He's got the personality type and the passion for the outdoors and the leadership capability in order to fulfill his duties.
Um, so, leadership doesn't always have to mean that you go to work and you get things done and you come home and then you sit on your ass and you just drink beer and ignore your family, right?
Yeah.
You know, so the idea, the word leadership, um, tell me about what you think about the different ways that it can be looked at, the different forms it can take. Can it actually take different forms, you know?
Yeah. I think that leadership within the family is extremely important, and it's not stereotypical leadership, you know, a person taking the reins and really driving people a direction, but uh, just being an inspirational figure for us, being somebody that I can look up to and want to be like. He was a great father for a huge amount of reasons, but not the smallest of which is getting me passionate in everything that I've been passionate about thus far. And so I think that he's just a great leader in that he has been supportive of every pursuit that any member of my family has been into. My sister loves horses, and he's been there with her 100% of the way. And then I've been passionate about school and stuff like that, and so he's just as supportive with that. And I think that that character trait of his, that support, really allows for a family to function so much better.
How do you think that, you know, again, you know, leadership really can take a lot of different forms, right? I mean, is that something that you agree with, yes or no, and why?
Yeah, I think that you can't see two leaders in the same leadership style from both of them, and I think that there's a different form to every person, and it's no formula that makes a good leader, but it ends up working out. I think it's just like he was put in a position in which he could be a leader and therefore led just because of his personality type, his ability to relate to other people. But then on the family setting, I think it comes pretty naturally to him to see what his family's responding to and how they're doing and keeping in touch and just being very interpersonal and relating. It's been a pleasure to be around.
Yep. What do you, you know, as far as the, you know, whatever difference, you know, he's made in your life and what, you know, he's meant. You said that really he's a big part of why you are who
Yeah.
you are.
Yeah.
And what is that? I mean, to know that now. I mean, you may not know that as a kid,
Exactly.
but to know that now, what does that feel like to know that? Yeah, this is the dude who I can say, I am that way. He's still here. You get
Yeah.
to go fishing with him.
Yeah.
You know, how does that just affect your life in a positive way? You know.
You never look at it that way, you know, from in the moment. You can look at it with perspective and see that he's changed me in the way that I am, but just being able to spend time with him is an absolute pleasure. He's a great guy to be around, you know, but he's also just an inspiration. I mean, he's winning awards like this and doing stuff all the time. It's not a rare thing, and I'm not surprised in the slightest to hear that I have to do an interview for it. But it's really, it looks great on paper, but it in no way comes close to describing how great he is as a person and how much fun he is to be around.
Right. So in 2006, take me back to that time and what was happening with you and the family.
Well, my sister had just made it to pony finals, which is a big deal in the horse riding world, and we had been on the way there, and I had gotten rather sick on the way, very nauseous, not feeling so good. So we went up to a minor emergency, and I got told that I had strep throat, and so took some antibiotics for strep throat, got a little better. Then school started for me, and went to the first few days of school, and then I got a lot worse, and lymph nodes really swollen. Went into the hospital. They thought it was mono, and so they checked me in. And then by that evening, it had been diagnosed as acute myeloid leukemia, which is a rare form of blood cancer. And that was a traumatic experience for me and my family, naturally.
When that sort of came down, what was the reaction from your family, and how did your dad, you know, work on getting this? Just what did he do?
It was complete shock to all of us. It's never something you can expect, and it's never something you plan for. And I think especially in a father-son relationship, it's just you see all of the things that you were used to and comfortable with just go down the drain. And I think that it is impossible to say anybody handled it with grace, you know, and an exceptional amount of ease. But we were all panicked, and we didn't know what to do. And I'd say that that's when he really stepped in with a positive disposition, starting to bring back the idea of hope, and then drawing our attention to the fact that we've got a treatment plan and a great oncologist and all the positives of the situation, of which there were more than you could possibly imagine, even in as grim of straits as we were in. But
And looking back now, how important um, was your dad's just being there and his natural leadership abilities? How important do you think that was for you and your family to, kind of get through this situation? And would it have been different if he had, not been the way he is?
I think it's been shown that psychological impacts greatly influence treatment outcomes, and just remaining positive about everything helps the situation so much. It helps the stress on the family. I mean, it's the worst possible situation to be in, and yet it's still good things come out of it whenever you treat it the right way and you're able to see it with some perspective that it isn't actually the end of the world, in spite of what it is very easy to think.
And why? How did your dad kind of play into that?
He was the positive leader in the situation. He was there day in, day out for me in treatment, but he was also there for my whole family who was struggling through it just as much as I was. And I think that his ability to maintain positivity in a circumstance like that is one of the truest examples of how great a leader he is.
And um, tell me, just kind of, if you can, just sort of briefly about Buck's Barn and what your dad kind of meant to the formation of that.
Well, Buck's Barn is a nonprofit organization created by my family in order to give kids in the hospital an opportunity to shop for their families for Christmas. And so they're able to come down to a room and shop through all the gifts and then pick out whatever they want for their family. We wrap them and then deliver it to their rooms. And the reason we had that idea was I was inpatient personally over Christmas, and at that point in time, it was just insult to injury that because I was immune suppressed and because of the hospital bills, I couldn't get out and shop for Christmas as a traditional kid would be able to. And that was an awful experience for me because it's so important in my family to give. That's much more important than the receiving end of it. And so we figured that after it, because we'd been given such an opportunity, we were going to give something back. And that's what came out of it. We figured if anything, we could fix that. We may not have the medical expertise to progress the field or research or anything like that, but we could certainly do something about something as simple as that. And so we started Buck's Barn. It first started as an idea as small as a push cart, going from room to room in the hospital and giving kids an opportunity to grab some presents off of it and give it to their families. But it grew so out of proportion so fast in the idea stage that we ended up the first year with way more presents than we could deal with and anything like that. But the part that nobody thinks about is being able to translate that idea into an actual organization, and that's really where my dad came in. That's never the fun stuff to talk about, but the logistical aspects of communicating with the hospital staff, dealing with child life specialists and people that think that there's too many things going on. It's a lot of chaos logistically, and he was able to sift through all of it and get it on its feet. And after that, it just ran itself, and it's been 9 years strong. And it's that first stage between idea and actual creation is usually where everything fails. And he was instrumental in the creation of it.
That's so cool, man. And just kind of, I don't know, man. Do you have any closing thoughts on your dad as, as a leader, and what he brings? Because he doesn't seems like he leads. Does he even try? I mean, you know what I mean? Like the guys I talked to him, or like around him, he just lets us do our thing.
Yeah. I think that that's the exact sign of a great leader, is you're thinking that you're doing your own thing, but you're part of a greater goal, and he is in charge of that greater goal that you're able to see, and it's a tangible thing. And I think that just from what I've heard that he's done in his workplace is absolutely amazing, but it's so not a surprise to anybody that knows him that he's been doing this and that he's still doing it. He works really hard at it, but it's so easy to think that it just comes naturally to him and he's not actually working at all. Like, he's just playing outdoors all the time. That's all his job really is. Why is he getting paid? But you know, once you see the outcomes, that's when you can really tell how good of a leader he is. And because of that lead by following kind of personality that he has in the background, I think that that allows him, especially in a workplace with so many talented people, to really coordinate and get everybody focused on some overarching goals. And I think that's why he's getting this award. And I think he's definitely deserving of it if my experience with him is any indication of how great of a leader he is at work.
That's awesome. And did I go record voices? One thing I was thinking of is a way to maybe wrapping out creator comments. I don't know. Yeah, I mean, you know, seeing you guys out there, and you know, understanding and well, talking to your dad, and just really seeing the love he has for outdoors. He told me a really good, you know, story. You know, he was a photojournalism major, and I asked him why Parks and Wildlife ended up being a perfect fit, because it seemed like such a weird jump from being a photographer to a facilities manager.
Yep.
And then he said that he got to be outdoors and play outdoors, and it wasn't about the camera at all.
Yeah.
It was always about just being outdoors.
Yeah.
And when, you know, yourself, when you are outdoors, obviously you have a passion for it too. What is that? What is the feeling that you get when you're outside and really sort of connected with the outdoors? How would you describe that?
I'm huge into rock climbing as of the start of my college career, and I think that that is really my ability to connect with something that is so much larger than myself. And it's just insanely debatable as to whether or not it's a creator or something like that, but what's not debatable is that nature is an incredibly powerful force. And you see examples of that everywhere, and therefore when you're a part of nature, you can really see yourself as a small part of a whole, like an ecosystem. And then even beyond that, on a global scale, you're just such a small, insignificant thing. And I think that that's humbling, but equal parts entertaining, because you're able to see that in the outdoors, you're such a part of it. You're not just existing externally, but instead really connected. And I think that the photography for my dad was just the outlet for that, or the climbing for me is just the way to it, the way to that enlightenment, or just that feeling. And I think that anybody that works in the outdoors on a regular basis can tell you just how humbling it is and how special and what a spiritual connection it is with the outdoors itself.
I think you're absolutely right. That's almost exactly what your dad said.
Not surprised by that.
I don't know if he coached you on this.
No, no.
Okay. Well, let me ask this. It came up several times in your answer about feeling small and humble.
Yeah.
Is there a connection between the way he leads and that humble nature and spirituality?
Yeah, I think the humbling aspect of nature allows you to lead without ego. You don't have that huge feeling of power, and you don't exert that on other people, because you understand what true power is. You understand what is even beyond you, and because of that lack of ego in his leadership style, I think he's able to really connect with people on a personal level, and therefore everybody loves to follow him. I think that's what allows him to be such a good leader, is people liking to follow.
Yeah, that's really cool. And you know, I guess I mean that was awesome, man. You are extremely well spoken.
Oh, much appreciated.
You know, the only thing I will just kind of ask you to maybe kind of wrap up is just the idea of, you know, leadership does take many forms.
Yeah.
Whether it's, you know, at work, at the house, Boy Scouts, you know, that kind of thing. And so I might actually just have you say, you know, leadership can take on all shapes and forms, you know, something like that.
Yeah.
You know, what do you think?
I think that looking for a leader is a difficult thing, and you can't necessarily seek it out with a set series of traits. But when you meet my dad, it doesn't feel like you're meeting a leader. It feels like you're meeting a good friend. But then when you see the outcomes of his leadership, then you're able to understand that leadership may not seem like somebody who's above you or somebody who has these certain characteristics. It's more just results based. It's like if your style works, which his does, then that's what makes you a good leader. It's got nothing to do with the word itself. It's more to do with the the ability. And so I think that leadership comes in many forms, like you're saying.
I tell you what, just this is the only time I'll ever ask you to say anything.
Okay,
Just say, leadership can take many forms.
I will say it. Leadership can take many forms.
Okay.
There you go.
One more time.
Yeah, that's right. Leadership can take many forms.
Leadership can take many forms.
Pretty good. Yeah, that's